Lead Time is a weekly dose of leadership insights and interviews from Tim Allman and Jake Bessling. Lead Time is for any leader living in a busy world looking to be inspired, equipped, and empowered to lead others to their fullest potential. This is Lead Time.
Welcome to Lead Time. This is Season 2, Episode 3, and we are on camera, Jake.
This is so different.
This is crazy.
How you doing out there?
Wild. Jake and I are pastors. Before that, we're fathers, we're husbands, we're leaders, we're entrepreneurs. We're dreaming big dreams because we believe that eternities are changed when a leader chooses to grow, makes that daily decision to get up, get your water, get after it, get in the Word of God, and then go into your day to invest, to pour into other people with a tank, Jake, that's just overflowing. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
You want to live the overflowing life. What's getting you pumped up right now, brother?
What's getting me pumped up is I ran a marathon,
Hello.
and now
Congrats.
I am done with that for a little bit. And so just the opportunity to get my body in shape and moving and have a goal, and then complete that goal, and now think about different goals out there. Another thing pumping me up right now is our guest today, Maddy Haase. She's new to our team. Welcome to Lead Time.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
You are a gift to the body of Christ. I have the privilege right now of being around. I'm 38 years old, and a lot of people will look, well, you're kind of young. But we have a lot younger leaders here with new ideas, new energy. Here's the beautiful thing about being a young leader. You don't have the wounds of failure, and therefore, or not as many. Maybe you've suffered and struggled and all of that, but this creativity, this ruthless optimism, that's what we have in Maddy Haase. Tell us a little bit about Maddy, Jake, as she gives us her best today.
Yeah, I mean, you're 22. You grew up in Spokane, Washington, in the country, a lot of acreage there, and we'll talk more about that. But you've entered our community as a learner, as a listener, and a lot of young people that we interact with, they're kind of timid, they're a little shy. They're like, I don't know if I can contribute in that meeting. And you've done a beautiful job about saying, I have worth and value, and I have a humble posture. But when it's the appropriate time, here's my insights from my experiences, although somewhat limited in 22 years, but also there's a wealth of knowledge there already. So it's awesome to have you on our team and have you on Lead Time today. You're an intern here at Christ Greenfield. As a director of Christian education intern, working with youth ministry, we're launching a new campus here. The body of Christ has said, let's go, let's be sent. And you're doing a really effective job of doing some hard work of planning, getting to know people, and launching children's and youth ministry at a new site. So the best is yet to come. And Maddy, we are so excited to have you. Now, when you enter, you're welcome. As you enter into a new community, Tim and I love to hear people entering in and say, hey, do you like this or not? I mean, what is exciting you? Hopefully they like it. What is exciting you about the community here at Christ Greenfield?
I just think it's so welcoming. Like, ever since I came in August, people have been coming up to me, introducing themselves, making sure that they can help me if I don't know what's going on, and just walking into a community that's so willing to welcome me, but also help not only me, but you can see that spiral through all of the church community here, which has been really cool to watch.
So the theme for today is summer camp life. Wouldn't it be great if every day were summer camp?
S'mores.
Wow, you're talking my language.
S'mores.
Campfires, these weird late night walks with a person you're seeking to get to know a little bit better.
I didn't have, wow.
Okay, that was just me.
No.
But Maddy, you have been a camp counselor and director. So tell us a little bit about why you love camp life so much.
Yeah, I just love being in the outdoors. But camp is unique because you get to experience God's nature and talk about God, like, in this beautiful creation. So it's just really cool to be in a place that you can talk about Jesus to these kids, to these adults, to these grandparents, but then also, like, walk around and, like, see a lake or see a deer. It's just a unique experience.
You see deer?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you were discipled to love camp life.
Yeah.
Who discipled you to love the outdoor camp life?
My parents, every weekend growing up, we'd go camping, and so that really, like, started my love for the outdoors. But also growing up in Washington on, like, 110 acres, me and my brothers would just go outside, like, go ATVing, go walk to our grandparents' house. So just that love of nature was always in our backyard.
What are the adjectives that would describe the young Maddy Haase as you were growing up? How did people kind of describe you as a young girl?
We have one of those callers that know are on the line now. No, is that right? Yeah, how would they describe you?
I would say ready to get after things. I was always the one in class who was like, sorry, did we have homework? Like that kind of like, I always loved doing homework. I loved school. But I also wasn't afraid to like be outside and get dirty and like hang out with my brothers. Growing up with two younger brothers, you really learn to just go with the flow. So I was definitely with a go with the flow kind of person too.
You held everything together in many respects.
Yeah,
You were
basically.
there, yeah, a little mama, organized, but also adventurous.
Yeah.
Loved life with them. So good.
Did you go to camp then as a child?
Yeah.
Where did you guys go?
I went to, so the camp that I've worked at is Camp Luther Haven, and we started going as a family probably when I was around 6, because you can go for a weekend with your parents and your brothers. But summer camp, I didn't start going until like 3rd grade.
Wow. But
Yeah.
here's the deal as we head down to more of your story, that you got more involved with the same camp that you were at as a child. It's kind of like a church, it's a business, it's an organization of, can you see your people, leader, as everything that we need is in the house? And so maybe it's the first recruit you had at 22, but could you see them being there for 30, 40 years and going through a leadership pipeline? It's the way of Jesus. I mean, he calls one person, 3 people, 12 disciples close to him. And he invested them for a couple of years, and he empowered them to go out, to come back, to talk about it, to have a relationship. And I don't know if they saw it, like the future. A lot of times they didn't, right? Get behind me, Satan, as he tells Peter. They had a different idea, but eventually they caught the vision, and he invested them a little bit more each day and gave them more opportunities. And so to see Maddy go from, as you're going to hear, this camp counselor to then a director, actually way back when, just to go to camp.
Yeah.
So what was that move like from 3-year-old Maddy to now 22-year-old Maddy that was a program director?
Yeah. Well, as a camper, you really got to experience camp. And if you've ever been to camp, you know how much you love your camp counselor. Like,
Yeah,
they
right.
are a superhero. So ever since I was really little, I was like, I'm going to be them. Like, that was my life goal. So as a high schooler, as a junior or senior, you get to be on junior staff, which is like a junior counselor. You get to be in a cabin with kids that could be like 1st grade through like 5th, 6th grade, and just really mentor them and just be an extra like eyes and like help just like guide. But you're also still in high school, so you're still a camper. So that was just really my first experience into leadership at camp.
So, leader, who is looking at you? Who's watching you? Who's being discipled by you? And I think a lot of times in leadership, maybe in the secular world, it's about the doing rather than about empowering. It's not about just followers. Who's listening and watching and wanting to be you? That is simply how Jesus led, right? We got Adam, our producer, right here. You're watching Jake an awful lot. I know that. And me too, but I'd say you guys are in a unique discipleship relationship. You can do what I do, and that's on steroids in essence at camp life, in camp life. But for a solid business, a solid church, you have to be drawing people along. So you move from a camp counselor to then a program director. Talk to us about what that entailed.
Yeah, as a high school program coordinator, I got to just run all the programming for high school. So we had high school programs on site 3 times during the summer. So I ran like Bible studies or planned games and late night activities, or like you did things like drive a boat or like just hung out with the kids. But also I got to lead the junior staff, which was also a really unique experience, to lead high schoolers who were passionate about camp and passionate about leadership, but didn't know how to use those skills, because this was probably one of the first times in leadership.
So multiplication happens when you move from being a leader or discipler of like those who are in your program. You were a leader of leaders.
Yeah.
At a very young age, at 21. You had a team of people. And were you, what that rhythm, I'm curious what that rhythm of like working with them, what was like, were you meeting daily? Did they have, how structured or not structured was your discipleship or your leadership of your leaders?
Yeah, we met every day for an hour, just either as a full staff and then also individually with our individual counselors, and always checking in on them. That's like the biggest thing. Like anytime you see them, like, hey, how are you doing? How can I help you? What are you struggling with? What are you excited about? Like, let's talk about it. And really, whenever I see them, and this goes for our leadership in all aspects, like really just like pouring into them so then they can pour into the people that they are overseeing and leading.
That's incredible. At 22, Maddy gets that concept of checking in with her people. Now, it's a simple concept, but we've talked to other leaders that, let's say they're second, third chair, or they're on a team and they're like, I'm just on this team, but I never talk to my boss. They kind of occasionally will say, like, my door is always open, but they don't have a one-on-one with him. They don't have a scheduled time. Because here's the deal. Schedule the one-on-one with your people, and it's a way to check in, to say, how are you doing? Let's pray about this. Take a walk together. Get to know them a little bit. Have fun together. And then, of course, say, are you being appropriately challenged? I mean, do you have everything you need? Is there anything I could do better? And so, Maddy, it's cool to see you already having done that, and you will continue to do that as you then lead more volunteers and paid staff.
The day and age
beautiful.
of compartmentalized leadership is long gone. Because I'm always Pastor Tim. I'm always father, husband Tim. I don't really, and there's a good thing, a good side to this, and there's also a shadow side to this. It's hard sometimes to know when to take off one hat, or it's almost like if you're looking at hats, there's like, I'm wearing one hat, this holistic hat. And I think for the most part, it's pretty good because as you get to relate to your team, the three questions we always ask, and sometimes it's formal, sometimes it's more informal, but how are you? How's your family? Your home life, and then how you doing on your goals as we're moving the mission of Jesus forward here. And 2 out of those 3 questions are relational. It's not just you're someone that's helping move this ministry forward, whatever. It's very, very and out of that personal relationship, the internal motivation comes. I'm going to say that. I don't have to prod or push or pull anyone on our team, because we care for one another and we're on the same team. The mission is so big, and we're getting out. Actually, if I'm going to draw, it's going to be drawing people back. Like Jake, go watch the Houston Astros win the World Series. That's awesome. Take a road trip, and it's not like you're disconnected fully in this day and age. You're going to be able to check in. It's a long drive.
Typing a lot, actually.
You'll be doing a lot on
cranking
that.
podcast stuff.
Exactly. So anyway,
one of the fears I think
that integrated life.
Fears that I think a lot of leaders have that are leading others is my team is too busy to check in, or I want them to just keep working. I don't want to burden them with this extra time where we're chatting and making small talk and then going deeper about life. So just don't embrace that. Embrace the idea that they want to get close to you and hear more of your story too, and also be uplifted by close proximity to you. Because they could feel distant even though you're in the same room because you're not having that one-on-one time. And those are some of the most beautiful moments where they might share something with you going on in their life, and it can really mature your relationship and keep them there a lot longer.
So if you're leading a church, if you're leading a business, how do you make every day leading that place? It's camp. This is camp time. It's a day to go to camp. So to transition here, we've
Chubby
got
Bunny.
4 A's.
Remember that game? Marshmallows? Yeah. No, don't do that.
Don't do that. I mean,
HR will be called.
We've grown up a little bit. So we got 4 A's on the lessons that a camp counselor should give to us. This is going to be so good. So kick us off with the first A, leadership lessons from a camp counselor.
Ooh. Yeah, for sure. So I think it's really important to talk about accountability. I think we've talked about it a little already, but not only for me, what I've really noticed and what was really demonstrated so well for me at camp, the program director, she just was amazing in showing us, okay, we're going to empower these leaders to try something, and they're going to be accountable to you, but you are also accountable to them. And how are you going to support them? Just really making sure that circle of talking and being accountable to one another is really so that the mission and vision of camp can run.
What would camp look like without accountability?
I don't even want to imagine it.
Chaos, right?
Oh my goodness. Camp
People
is
go in
organized
different-
chaos already. So.
Yeah, but it's pretty organized.
Yeah.
And it might look chaotic, but you guys have a structure of accountability. Yeah. What would you do if, someone wasn't maybe doing their job and, you needed to keep them accountable? How would that conversation go?
I think really bringing them back to why are they here and asking them that question and not telling them. I think people learn way better when they have to respond instead of when you're like, no, you need to do this, this is why you're here. But like asking them, why are you here? What's going on? Let's move forward from there.
That's amazing. Taking them back to the grander why in their life. I mean, because in camp, you're working a lot of hours per week with little bitties and kids and frustration, lack of sleep. People go kind of crazy.
But at least you're making a lot of money doing it.
Right? Tons of money.
That's why you go to the camp.
Yeah, exactly. A lack of money, and then you're going to need to know the greater why. And I'm sure a lot of you leaders lead organizations on a shoestring budget. Times can get tough, recession can happen, and there's growth, and you're pouring money back into the company, and you're like, oh, come along. Remind them of the greater why, and you'll continue to go. So that's leadership lesson number 1, excuse me.
Jake has a little bit of a cough
Yeah,
these days.
it's less cough now, though.
Pray for Jake's cough. It
More
just
phlegm,
It's
you know?
phlegm, nasty.
Sorry. I won't spit on the show. but-
Second A, then we got accountability, and then we have what, Maddie?
We have adaptability, the just ability to be flexible in any situation. You never know what's going to happen with a kid, with a group, and it's just going to go whatever direction they so choose. And you have to be ready to either adapt what you're doing, be ready to be like, hey, like I'm going to jump here for a second and then come back to this. You just have to be really willing to be super flexible and realize that it's not about you, but it's about this wider picture.
Now, I'm not promoting this movie by any stretch of the imagination, but do you remember the movie Something About Mary? It's way before your time,
Yeah,
Maddie.
I don't know it.
There is this scene in a car where a guy comes up with this revolutionary exercise program called, I think it's 8-minute abs. 8-minute abs. And this guy's sitting next to him, and he goes, well, what happens if someone comes up with 7-minute abs? And he goes, no, eight's the key number. Eight's the key number. And I feel like a lot of times for leaders, we get so stuck. It's got to look this way, feel this way. It's got to be ultimately my way. It's about control rather than open-handed posture of leadership. And if you're leading kids in a camp, oh my goodness, do you need to be adaptable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One way I've seen
Totally agree.
Maddie and Adam and our team already do this is as we think through starting something new, you're trying to honor the traditions and what matters most with the current reality at a location, a business, now for us a church, but also say it's an opportunity to tweak some things and be really adaptive to change some things. And so what you guys are doing to think through in the worship service, for pulling kids out midway through, we're thinking about having a song that kind of bridges the gap and transitions us instead of a children's message at times. And it would be kind of a campy song, not too campy, you know what I'm saying, but right there in the middle. And so just being adaptive with what the name even is. If the name's not working, chorus means grace, doesn't necessarily tie into 21st century, CG kids. So being very adaptive with the worship service to reach kids and families where they're at, make it a really clear process and fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. I love that, Jake, because if we're leading an amazing team of people, what characteristic? We want them to be adaptable because nothing is ever set it and forget it. It could be the greatest thing ever, and yet our God is so creative, so dynamic. There's nothing that's static. There's always movement. And it's not just that we're like sitting back saying we've arrived. And a lot of times it's a really good, is that your kid, Maddie, yelling in the background?
We're just inserting kids because camp,
It's a camp. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, I have no idea what I'm saying right now, but a lot of times a leader is so focused on his way that he's not including other people. And his way, actually, it may have been really good for a season. But with the rapid change of our culture today, it's passing on by. So unless you're on a team that's constantly analyzing the why are you doing what you're doing? And it's not a personal thing. This is often what a leader struggles with. It's not just about you being a bad person, a bad leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so Tim, as a senior leader and then leaders of teams, from what is a phrase that you could use that we could teach our people here that they could just inundate into the culture of their team that would focus on adaptability?
I think it's dream with your team.
Dream with your team.
There's never a time that we've arrived. We're always a work in progress. And your dream, or let's use Jesus language, the Spirit living within you is the same as the Spirit living within me. And so the Spirit's going to speak to you in a unique way. And am I going to be receptive, open to the Holy Spirit living within you? Or am I going to, and this is sin ultimately, am I going to show disobedience to the voice that's coming? It doesn't mean I always have to do exactly what you say. But I'm going to listen, I'm going to grab it, I'm going to bounce it off other people on our team, and then we're going to make a collective decision to move forward. That's an adaptable, healthy organization, and you get to live that in spades at camp. So thanks for letting us go off on adaptability, sister. Totally love it. So
accountability, adaptability. What's the third one, Maddie?
You got to be articulate.
Ooh.
If you ever, imagine having 70 college students and 250 kids that you are just watching take place. Kindergarten through high school. So you got to really articulate what you're needing and what needs to happen. Because if you don't articulate clearly what is going on, then no one's going to really understand and everything is going to go into that chaos. So that could be articulating what's happening next, or just even articulating your own personal needs. Hey, I am exhausted. I just need 5 minutes, get a cup of coffee, we'll be back. But just articulating all of that is so important.
That seems kind of hard in our culture where, it's a lot of sound bites. It seems disorganized, not a really stream of consciousness. You can go on YouTube whenever you want. There's a lot of just little ideas. So how important do you think or do you think our culture is becoming more or less articulate?
I think we've really lost how do we articulate our needs and what is best for our people. We're very good, I think, at just talking, either if it's just YouTube. Sometimes you're what is happening?
Rambling. Sharing too much.
But I think we've really lost how do I articulate what I need and what needs to happen, especially as a leader, clearly.
Yeah, kind of where is that movement actually going in the organization? How do you see articulation? How do you see that communication and articulation here at Christ Greenfield that you just entered in with eyes wide open? So how do you see us articulating and communicating well or not? Do we have any gaps?
Yes.
I think we articulate well with people before worship about what is coming up next. And I think that's really important for people because they want to know, okay, what am I going to walk into on Sunday morning? Let's give them a little bit of a snippet. But I think we're also really good as a team and articulating on staff meetings. Okay, we're going to do this, but also through emails. I think I've really seen a lot of growth and really positive influence through that articulation.
Give us some real-time feedback. Yesterday I preached on feedback, the power of feedback, and I'd love to know, just right off the top of your head, you can be gentle, you can be respectful, but give us some clear feedback on ways we could articulate our vision that much more clearly.
This is a good question. I think we have such a great vision for discipleship, but we need to articulate it better to our congregation people, because I think we as a whole understand it, but does someone who has walked into Christ Greenfield and this is their fourth time coming, do they know why the bulletin is laid out that way? Do they know why what we're doing is what we're doing?
Oh, that's so good.
Excellent. And we're working on that.
Yes, that's a major project for us.
That is really good.
It's a huge project.
Organizations don't move toward simplicity, they move toward complexity. And so we've talked simple church here. And if you're listening and wondering what our clear discipleship process is, it's to worship every single week. We are worshiping people, not just on Sunday, but throughout the week, giving praise and honor to Jesus. After that, Jake, what are we doing?
We get in Journey Group Life where we have community and we have a family together. And then we go where?
We serve on Sunday mornings every week. Yeah.
And just to give yourself permission as a team, though, as you try to articulate that you're having the conversation and then you have goals to move that direction, if you're not talking about it and you're not planning as you go into different environments and you're just haphazard about it, you might think you're being real articulate and that people totally understand what you're saying because you're just so good on the cuff, you might ask a handful of people to be like we just did, give yourself real time feedback and say, am I being really clear here? And you'd be surprised. Someone, if they're honest, might say, I'm kind of lost. I'm not sure actually what you're saying. And so it'd be good. Or videotape yourself and look back at that and say, do I even follow what I'm really saying?
So real-time feedback, your elbow is moving this camera and it's going, okay.
I'm so sorry.
And then it's okay.
It just happened.
But listen to this.
Go back to the replay.
If they, and to go back to your point, because you were making a really good point as your elbow was moving. Anyway, here's the deal, that if
Good
that
feedback.
person comes to you, gives you articulate, a clear next step, feedback, solid, it means one, that they love you.
Exactly.
And two, you might want to bring them on a team to help solve the problem.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I think our parishioners and the lay leaders, you got a team of people, that's the paid professionals. Invite those people on because I bet they're coming in with a lot of really good ideas to help you articulate the why and then the what. The how are we moving people to a more articulate vision of a future reality. So good. We're to the fourth A. Give us a fourth A, Maddie.
Yeah, the fourth A is accepting. Yeah,
That's a big buzzword.
I know. But I think
Accept.
it's so cool when you accept people for where they're at and realize that you can help walk with them in their growth and not make them the best leader you've ever seen in 2 minutes. And I think that also goes for kids. One thing that I really learned this summer was there's no bad kid, there's just bad behavior. So how do I go at that with saying there's no bad person in this world? Sin has entered this world. So how do I accept them and love them, even if we might not be agreeing right now? Conflict's real. Like, how do I move past this, but accepting who they are as a child of God?
How does that play out in now high school ministry and into college ministry with, people just living their own life and I'm doing my own thing? I'm not really sure. Shouldn't you just accept me? Because we throw around that word a lot in culture. So can't you just accept me for who I am? If someone's like that stubborn and on their sin too, how would you go about in the 21st century speaking the truth and love to them?
I think the key is the truth and love. Like,
Okay,
how
both.
I think it's such a clear balance in today's world because people want to just be loved and to be accepted, but you really have to show okay, let's look at this truth. I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to love you through this, but I'm, like we just talked about, the feedback, it comes out of a place of love, not out of a place of, I need you to be better. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but let's lean into that love part as we speak that truth. That way they know that you're not just doing this because you're just a mean person. You're doing it because you really truly care about them.
I love it. And as you start your journey with that team to say, we're going to be on a journey together. We haven't arrived. We're going to go and, man, God is going to continue to shape you and mold you and move you. I mean, I'm watching the Houston Astros and just think about any team that years ago, they were the worst team in baseball, and now they're in the World Series. It took 4 or 5 years. I mean, it took a long time, a lot of conversations, a lot of love, and a lot of accepting of where you are, but it's not acceptable to stay there. And so I'm going to do everything to empower you on this journey. Camp, baby.
It's so good. So you love Jesus so passionately. Mm-hmm. Give us some of, as it relates to acceptance, give us one story of how Jesus modeled acceptance and speaking the truth in love, just right off the top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, the sinful woman washing Jesus' feet. The Pharisees are just sitting there and why are you letting this woman who is obviously sinful walking into this place and washing your feet? Jesus, you know who she is. Why are you letting this happen? And Jesus is no, this is such a strong sign of her love and her faith towards me. She is part of this community. Though she is only labeled as a sinful woman, she doesn't even have a name.
Yeah.
Jesus just loves her and accepts her and points her back to who he is and who he's created her to be.
So when we talk about acceptance as we close here, really love. I mean, love really does win the day. Mm-hmm. And as you draw someone closer in love, not hate, you actually get to know who they are. So don't typecast and stereotype and say those people, but it's like, how many of those people do you actually know and accept? No, they're not going to stay in that position. And if they are, there's times where you can say, hey, you need to move along. But on your team, start with that acceptance model of Jesus of love and then speak the truth. And so we have these 4 A words coming from a camp counselor experience and leadership axioms. So which one do you need to work on, though?
Yeah.
I mean, accountability, is that an area of your life, leader, that you're not keeping other people accountable or you're not willing to take accountability? Adaptability, you're just not an adaptive person. You're pretty rigid and stuck in your ways. Be a little more adaptable. Articulate, you need to look at the video of you sharing some stuff. You don't have a clear vision for where your organization is headed. Be more articulate. Or accepting. You just don't want to accept anyone. No one's good enough for you. Everyone has problems. They're the problem. They're the issue. Be more accepting. So what had the 4, Maddy, on the spot as well. Which one do you think you have a lot of room to... Which one do you think I have? Which one do you think you have a lot of room to grow on still this internship year?
I think I have a lot to grow in being more articulate and realizing how that is for high schoolers, but then it changes for who you're talking to too.
Good point.
And just really leaning into being more articulate in what I'm thinking and feeling for our mission and for senior high and for our adult leaders. So yeah, I'm really excited to work on that this year.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
I'm going to bounce it over to you.
Dude,
So
bounce away.
For me, it's also being articulate. And it's even helpful in this podcast to look and review and watch and listen. You're like, I'm not as clear as I thought I was. And one of the helps that I've been doing is, it's just a but take some time before you enter the environment where you're going to have to talk.
Are you talking about preparation?
And really plan it out. I used to think I'm really good on my feet, but I do like a script. So I got a script down here. And so just be really articulate. And we had 4 A's today, alliteration. Use a mnemonic, how do you say that? Mnemonic device? What's that word?
Mnemonic?
Yeah, say it again.
Mnemonic device?
I can't
It's a
say
memory tool?
Yeah, use that. I mean, and when you're in public, you do this so well. I mean, if you put it in that kind of, whatever the device is, I can't say that word.
Mnemonic.
It's mnemonic.
P-N, it's like pneumonia.
P-N,
isn't
pneumonia.
it? I think
pneumonia
it is.
device.
P-N-E-U-M-H.
Mnemonic. I got it. Mnemonic device. Articulate. Mnemonic device. You can remember and even speak less from a script and be more articulate. So, Tim, out of the 4 A's, which one do you want to work on more?
Oh, my gosh. Adaptable. Continuing to be, and I think you would probably say, to a degree, I'm slightly adaptable, but I just am seeing so much potential in developing numerous teams in a variety of different atmospheres and then allowing them, because I come in with my own ideas of what needs to happen, but I think it's about relationship. I'd say in this environment, I'm pretty good when it comes to adaptability. We're continuing to evolve, but as I'm working across congregations, being adaptable there. So that's another layer of complexity that I'm working through right now. So good. Leaders are those who mentor other people. This is so fun, dog.
Don't touch me.
Leaders work with other people. They hold them accountable. They mentor and disciple them. So, Maddy, who are you discipling? Who's your apprentice right now?
That's a really good question.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
I think right now my main focus in raising up other leaders is our rock team for senior high. And it's a group of about 11 high school students, freshmen to seniors, who we meet once a week and once a month, not once a week, to just talk about leadership skills, but then how do we apply these to our everyday lives and how do we apply these to youth group? And then also seeing them every week at youth group. Okay, we have seen you in building up this youth group, let's keep working. So I think along with Brian, just really working through how to mentor the Brock team has been really good.
That's awesome. Keep apprenticing people and working yourself out of a job. And in this community, we are readers. Leaders are readers. One of our 10 core values. If you don't have core values for organization and your team, they're not really sure maybe where you're going, what you really value, articulate those core values. Leaders are readers. And so, Maddy, you're a leader. You are a reader. You love books. And so what are you reading these days?
I just finished Everybody Always by Bob Goff this past weekend, and that one's just a really good one to go back to the accepting. How do we love people who are not like us?
It's kind of a feel-good book.
Yeah,
right?
it's
He's got a
definitely
lot of
like
those.
trending right now. Like Love Does, Everybody Always. One of those books that are really going through. But
Impactful. What else?
Jake, also, you told me about empowering leadership. So,
Our whole team has read it, and it's
Yeah.
part of our DNA and our culture here.
so I've been reading through that.
Michael Fletcher.
Any takeaway so far?
I really like how it talks about leaders come from within and how do you empower leaders from within.
It's awesome.
Oh, man.
Everything is in the house. Look at her
Everything-
articulate
you
that.
are so articulate, Maddie. This has been so legit. Last question, final word of advice for leaders.
I really think it's be courageous. Brene Brown, she talks a lot about how courage is vulnerability, and I think that dynamic is so important as a leader to just be really vulnerable, but also be courageous in your actions. Like, take a leap forward, go for it, especially as a young leader. Like, just go for it. And if you are vulnerable and communicate, it might not work, but let's see what happens.
Oh my gosh.
This is so good.
Your ceiling is ridiculously high,
At
Maddie.
22.
Thank you.
Jesus has remarkable things, not just in the future, but today for you as you continue to live out those 4 A's. We are pumped Jesus led you here. I'm going to throw it out right now. We would love to keep you here
Amen.
after
you.
this year.
Stay with us, grow with us.
Please, we need a lot of Maddies. So continue to disciple future Maddies. Every church needs them. Every organization needs a Maddie. Find
two,
that
or
young
three.
leader who understands. So where are you going to find Maddie? Maybe you find her at camp, who love little ones, who grow up, become a leader of leaders. You have blessed us so remarkably today. I pray, leader, that you're sharing this. Sharing is caring. Facebook, Instagram. I'm a Google Podcast guy. You guys know that, or iTunes,
iPhone.
wherever it is.
Whatever
This is
that
going
is.
to be on YouTube as well. Share away and get the word out about what Jesus is doing through Lead Time. This is a good environment where we get to learn from leaders like Maddie.
And
God
I know,
bless you.
I think you were convinced to have a Maddie in organization, but I'm gonna throw this out as I get to close here as well. Is she's a BS meter. She
What?
gets to tell us.
Can he say that?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm rolling that out. Whatever, Yeah. BS. She can say that in a meeting. She doesn't say that way, right? Don't say it that way. I'm just saying on the podcast, But you're saying, hey, that's not going to fly. Because a lot of it talks about millennials and Gen Z and, if we just did this. And you can say, no, this isn't going to fly. And so you need someone like a Maddie to say, no, that's not actually going to work. But you ask her, how is it really going to work? And so continue to lead and learn. And we believe eternities are changed when the leader grows. I hope
we
you've
do.
grown today. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace out later.
You have been listening to Lead Time with Tim and Jake. Please subscribe at cglchurch.org/lead time. Thanks for listening. Tune in next Monday for another episode.